Norikis.
Here.
Wes Ryan.
Here.
And Henry Quant.
Here. First order of business is comments from citizens present. Do I have any comments from citizens present? Next order is the minutes of the last meeting. Are there any corrections besides Chester's? Anybody have any? Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting for June the 24th, 2013?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Next order, special order of business, is a presentation, a bid award to Cutler Southwest Keel Avenue Sewer Line Extension Construction. Good evening, Kurt.
Good evening. This sewer line extension is a project that's outlined in the Urban Renewal Year 2000 Development Plan, and it's also listed in the recently completed Cutler Community Vision Plan. It provides sanitary service to a number of properties in an isolated pocket in the Cutler City District along Highway 101, and I believe that's shown in your packet there's a map that shows that area in the green. The agency authorized the design to be completed, and the project was put out to bid. In the packet, you see the interested bidders list, which included several local contractors and a few subcontractors and plan centers from the valley. We advertise that in the Daily Journal of Commerce for people outside the area. And then the local contractors that normally bid with us, we make sure that they get an invitation in the mail or drop it off. And then it's also advertised in the local paper a couple times. So in order to get as many local bids and as much interest in the project as we can. The one bid that we did receive was from Devil's Lake Rock for $349,731, which was just under the engineer's estimate for the project. Due to the groundwater issues in the area, our construction window, we figure, is really August and September. Anything outside of that, the groundwater comes up pretty fast, and the dewatering issue, it may just almost be impossible other than maybe on the shoulders of that, but it would increase the cost of the dewatering. I had a meeting with the property owner of the undeveloped site on Highway 101 that we've referred to several times. He's the one that has expressed an interest to build a new building on that site and relocate an established business here in Lincoln City to that site once the sewer was available. It'd be a major boost to the economic development for the Cutler District. He indicated to me that he was very interested in moving forward with his development for the site. He was very amenable to our requests for building something that would front the highway, sit up close to the highway with showrooms and such along the sidewalk, and then have this parking in the back. And he indicated that he was more than happy to do that. He's had some discussions with the designer, and they think that would fit well on the site. And he understands our desire for him to continue to set a high standard for the development that's going on down there, such as the remodel that went on to the Bay House and the work that Roger and Diane Geddes did to the building that used to house Tubbs and now it houses Beach Dog Cafe. And also the Freed Gallery in the area right there. In addition to his business, he'd like to also create a couple of additional retail spaces for some complementary businesses to the home improvement cluster, kind of work to help us create that home improvement cluster that we've talked about for that area. It would be a good draw for that area to continue to encourage more businesses that support home improvement, so it becomes a destination for people to kind of come to. We've had similar discussions with the business across the street, for example, Roby's. There's really three businesses. It's an appliance store, a mattress store, and a furniture store. And they've talked a little bit about some way to increase their visibility to make it look like they've got three businesses there. So that, because I think that probably some people don't think of them first as for their appliances, for example. They think of them as a furniture store. So he has requested that his designer move forward and complete a preliminary design for the project, which is really, really exciting in our office anyway. I also met with Matt Drawn. He's the general manager of ProBuild to update him on this pending decision and what the ramifications are. For example, once the project is completed, those businesses, Roby's and ProBuild, will have 4 months to connect into the line, and the system development charges for, once they connect in, are $5,700. So we want to give them as much, they're aware of this, but I've been continually updating them so that this doesn't come as a big surprise when it does happen. We have meetings planned tomorrow with the other affected property owners following tonight's decision. I'd be glad to answer any questions, and your action item this evening is to vote on the resolution to award the construction contract to Devil's Lake Rock.
Do you have any questions for staff?
Just a quick one. I'm assuming that the sewer will go down the highway. And how disruptive is that going to be of the traffic for that area?
The sewer line will go behind Roby's Furniture.
Oh, behind, okay.
In a street that's dedicated, it's Keel Avenue.
Right.
So there's a right-of-way there, and then it'll turn and it'll go up between Roby's and ProBuild, and it'll go under the highway.
Okay.
And they're going to bore under the highway.
So it really won't disrupt the traffic?
It shouldn't be a major disruption. You know, they're going to be working on the side of the highway, but it won't be closing any lanes or anything.
Okay.
Chester?
They'll bore under the highway and take it where, Kurt?
They'll bore under the highway and place a manhole on the other side of the highway in the shoulder, and then they'll put stubs on each side of that manhole, so they won't have to re-bust into the manhole when they want to connect to it. There'll be stubs there for them to connect into. So it'll go both ways. It'll go towards Streetcar Village, and it'll go back north.
Right. Streetcar Village will not be served at this point?
At this point, not. And the problem isn't their problem, really, and it really isn't our problem. It's kind of a state issue. They would like to annex into the city, and they would like to get sewer service, but their property is outside the city limits. But the big problem is it's outside the urban growth boundary as well. That line, the South City line, is both the urban growth boundary and the city limits. So it's difficult to bring them into the city because of that. But we're going to make arrangements. We're going to prepare for it in the future by putting a step in that direction.
This morning I was in the GIS office and looking at a map of that area of town, and on the map, a piece of ProBuild is outside the UGB as well.
That's correct. A piece of their yard.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's not going to be an issue?
That won't be an issue, no, because their building is within the city limits.
Okay. And did I hear you say we only had one bid on the job?
We only had one bid on the job.
Wow. That's surprising, is it not?
It was surprising since we had 16 plan holders, and not all the plan holders were contractors. As I mentioned, there were some subcontractors and there were plan centers. We sent it to several plan centers.
What is a plan center?
A plan center is, most of them are located in the valley, but there are some along the coastline where contractors can, a lot of projects, you have to pay for the plans, and so the plan center will buy them, and then the contractors can come in and look at them and make copies if they want to bid on the job, but they don't have to pay for the plans and then get them and realize, oh, well, that's a job that they wouldn't be capable of doing.
Say, Henry?
Yeah.
Because we might have a minute, could you help me remember when you go in for a bid, you have access to the engineer's estimate, don't you?
That's
It's
correct.
part of it.
Mm-hmm.
So that, for some people, is kind of a starting place to go up or down.
Well,
From that.
it's definitely, I would call it definitely a starting place. Most people, when we put out a bid, we'll get phone calls right away, what's the engineer's estimate? And I don't think it's so much as, well, that's what I'm going to bid. It's more, am I able to bond for that amount of money? Or is this job too small for me to mess with? So I think it's more of a starting point for that, rather than a starting point for, well, I'm going to bid at $4 less than the engineer's estimate.
Yeah. Hence, it is a little surprising that you just got one written response, but
Well, this time it
I
was.
guess,
Fortunately, local
yeah,
bid,
fortunately,
so local company, which is
I'm sure they'll do a good job.
And Devil's Lake Rock has been very, very close in the last several bids that we've had. I mean, with under $1,000 to the low bid. So, I feel pretty comfortable that their price is a good bid.
Any more questions for staff?
One more comment. I just wanted to say, Kurt, it was nice in your memo to see alternative considerations.
Okay.
Appreciated that.
Great, thank you.
Any more questions? Okay. Moving forward, the next order of business is a resolution.
Before you leave, Kurt, and if I may, Mr. Chair, under your recommendation, Kurt, you call Devil's Lake Rock Company ACE Devil's Lake Rock Company. I've never heard it referred to that way before.
But I think the ACE is the engineer.
No, I believe that is to approving an award of the bid to ACE. That probably was a mistake on the boilerplate of this, and when it went to put in Devil's Lake Rock, forgot to take out the ACE. It's probably for ACE Engineering for when we did a similar staff report for ACE Engineering. So it is Devil's Lake Rock.
So that's not an issue. I'm looking at the resolution proposed, and it's there as well. So,
Was it really?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think we have one other issue with the resolution that was pointed out, and that it has the signature page for the mayor, and it should actually be, the resolution should be to the agency and not the council. So perhaps we can make both of those corrections?
Okay. So, no. Good.
Thank you.
Can I get a motion to approve the resolution for Urban Renewal 213-06, a resolution of the Urban Renewal Agency of Lincoln City approving an award of bid from Devil's Lake Rock Company for construction services for the Cutler District Southwest Keel Avenue and Sewer Extension Line project with the two corrections, removing ACE and changing it to my signature block?
I would so move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please, Kathy.
Ellingson,
Yes.
Sprague, Norikis,
Yes.
Quant,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
and Eggleton.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is agency member comments.
If I
Sure,
if I could, Kurt, could you come back up? It's really a wondering from the agency and having Kurt involved. You know, periodically we've talked around the like last meeting at the Nell Scott parking lot, the proposed parking lot, and moved that. But it continues to bring up the sign that's there on the corner of 35th and 101 that the agency owns. Would it be appropriate, so this isn't direction or anything, it's a question of us all, could the agency have discussion with the businesses at Nell Scott, and maybe even, on the ocean front, that kind of Nell Scott larger, to figure out how they might better utilize the sign capability, that we might, as an agency, be willing to, allow it, share it, do whatever, some kind of arrangement for signage for those folks. Because I know right now, it's, we don't have at least, it's being used, so I guess I'm trying to expand it, the capability of expand it to that business district, maybe, just maybe, hoping that there'd be less signs on the businesses, A-frames and stuff that get in the way, if they had something, where that sign is that talked, or, at least had their name recognition, and that we might be willing to deed it over to them, or whatever the process might be for an entity. Does that make sense?
That would be a great discussion to have. I can tell you that part of the design of that project is to come up with a design for an informational sign that, and I didn't ask them to put specific names on there, but more a sign that would say beach access, parking, motels, that sort of thing, rather than saying specific motels, because I wasn't sure that would go anywhere and the ramifications of doing that. But I realized that that sign probably needs some discussion about that sign being there. And we always sort of assumed that it wasn't going to be our issue. Then when it was a 5-lane highway, that sign was going to be someone else's issue. Right. And now that it will end up not having to be removed because of the highway project, right, then it probably would be good to have that discussion of what the alternatives are. And we've had discussions with the property owner that has the sign there, and let them know that, how would you feel about an alternative? And obviously their first choice would be what's there now. They kind of like the historic nature of their sign. But they realized that an alternative B might be necessary, and that they are appreciative that we were looking at being able to put something there that then they could expand on. Now, once people got off the highway, then they could put a sign that directed them down to the beach or up on the bluff.
But I don't know how the rest of the agency feels, but right now it's limited to one advertiser, and I'm looking more for the complex or the business district to get a broader benefit, is what I would hope.
I think that's a good idea.
I think we can bring that forward during one of our next meetings.
Well, and I don't know what the process might be, but I guess kind of alerting Kurtz maybe in some of the discussions, even though you've had it, to now say, hey, they're interested, and maybe bring a proposal or something to back.
Well, I'm glad to hear the feedback, because it gives me a little bit more knowledge how to talk to the people about it. So I think maybe the next step would be to see what the design team comes up for an alternative or two of placing some informational signage that would direct people off the highway, and for you to look at, and then maybe pass that by the business owners and see what their input was, and then if you have both that much information, then it might be easier to come up with a plan that doesn't affect someone too drastically.
Great.
It might end up being better, actually.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Kurt?
Any more comments from agency members? Going once, going twice? Not. This meeting is adjourned.
Oh, did